So this was a really excellent game. Ottomans versus Byzantines, or Byzantians. The Byzantium civilization. And they were good. I'm not going to deny that this adversary was particularly strong, which made it interesting. You can see by the timestamp. So they started fairly sensibly. Previously, when I've done this map, I've been a bit idiotic and not put the mill next to the fish, which is pretty obvious, and not put the lumber camp a bit too far away and things like that. So I've remedied that problem, although I did put the mining camp. This is the first gold I saw. Actually, the easiest gold is there, which is obviously a bit silly, but nevertheless, doesn't super matter. So yeah, I do my thing of everyone on food, but one on most people on food, one on wood, and two on gold before I get to feudal age. And then at feudal age, I normally start putting people on stone and wood. They're just scouting around. That's fine. But as I say, this was an excellent game, to be honest. Also, the enemy, it kind of showed how strong cavalry can be. I always say that Janissaries are really strong against cavalry. Turns out not so much if you are attacking mass cavalry. And I'll show you what I mean in shortly. So I just about beat them with that age up, but it's pretty close. Byzantine are pretty strong as a civilization against Ottoman, but also just generally. So the kind of France and England are the real problems for the Ottoman, in my experience. English because they can easily come about now, literally a few minutes in with longbowmen, and that's the standard thing to do with English. And then you basically longbowmen to harass and kill a lot of villagers, and then you can white castle. And once you've done that, it's actually really hard, especially as Ottoman, to fight against it. And so on those maps where you're close together, that's really, really tough. And French because of those cannon. The Chinese, if they're a good player, they can be pretty good because of the nest of bees. The nest of bees can absolutely obliterate everything. But you have to be a reasonably good player, I'd suggest, because you do need about 4 or 5, and then you do need to protect them. So you can't just, whereas the English can just chuck longbowmen in it. You can be a beginner basically in English and win the game pretty easily early game if you like to do that. Just with chucking longbowmen around and killing as many villages as you can, and then you can kind of sidle in with some battering rams, even if you don't bother with a early white tower. Learnt my lesson as well, putting an outpost next to that gold mine. It's also a bit far out, so I decided to protect it a bit more. Income per minute is about equal, just about beating on food. He's beating on wood. Bit slow with the first military school, 7 minutes in, very slow with the first military school, I admit it. Should have done that far earlier. Something to try and do better in the future. Got a barracks coming up. It was a good game though, really good game. so they're just looking to attack the scout for some reason. Upgraded to hardened spearman. Getting that second school up because I was very slow with the first one. Ready for the upgrade. Put it here, which is fairly sensible. Previously I put it in some ridiculous place, so I've been a bit more sensible this time, which is good. And also getting quite a few on it because I'm rushing Castle Age. I want to try and beat them ideally to Castle Age so I can start to create my force. Have a bit of time to create a force before they're able to come and wipe me out, basically. So already getting a few Janissaries together. I have to admit this game shook my confidence in Janissaries, or shook my attachment to Janissaries slightly, so I'll show you that in a minute. My presumption, as I say, is that Janissaries are these elite units that can take on just about anything, but perhaps I need to temper that expectation. Pushing out to other parts of the map. One of the other things that they could have done, they could have won this game very easily. It was a good player. It was a very good player. They could have won the game very easily if they'd have concentrated on limiting my access to gold and then getting my trade route. They could have done that quite easily because they were heavy on the cavalry and they could have easily swung around the map. They did try and do it. I'll show you in a minute. They did try and do it, but if they'd tried harder and tried stronger, then I think I probably would have lost. Just standard, because there is actually a limited supply of food here. It's a bit annoying. It also means that I have to waste, well not waste, but I have to use wood on building farms and blah 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 blah. So it's a little bit of a more annoying map, to be honest. There's only a couple of little random bushes around here. I decided to put up some just basic palisade walls in the kind of vain hope that it'll give me a bit of protection. The standard thing from their point of view would be to go around the back, so I decided to do that. Not 100% sure if it. I mean, it was fairly useful. Upgrading all the time, obviously. I do that. I'm fairly quick on upgrading resources. I think I haven't got too much of a lag. I think to be honest, if I did, I would not have won this game. Again, that's a spoiler. I am on a bit of a winning streak at the moment. It's possibly because I'm actually doing these little videos, whereas previously I didn't bother doing the videos. Perhaps it makes me kind of concentrate a bit harder, I don't know. 15 minutes in now. I do have these kind of slightly odd placements. The idea being that I can kind of, I guess part of the idea being that you can switch on to whichever is less likely to get under attack. So for example, if I notice that there's a force coming around here, I can very quickly just click once and they can switch. All those villagers can switch to this one, or alternatively can do the same over here. It kind of makes sense. Now 17 minutes in, yeah, starting to build up a decent force. Doing my standard thing, Anatolian Hills to military campus to advanced academy, and then at the end I'll do trade bags, and that was useful this game, I would suggest. Not amazingly useful, but useful-ish. I'm pushing out, getting a few people on stone, and already I'm thinking about moving out. So it's about, normally around this time I'm starting to move out. starting to attack the enemy, and the idea being, even if I don't, you know, absolutely smash them, my plan would be, my expectation frankly, would be, if I'm able to launch the first attack, that I'd be able to do some serious damage to villagers. Now I come across this monk, and this is a decision, right? The decision needs to be made. Do you attack the monk because they're going to get a warning, and that's going to be very obvious then that you've got a force coming, or do you ignore it? Now, because he's a monk and because he's carrying a relic back, I went for, let's just kill him. I don't know whether that was the right decision, perhaps it wasn't. Maybe I should have just left him and hoped that they hadn't noticed, but to be honest I think this player probably would have noticed anyway, and pretty quickly. I don't think it was necessarily the worst decision. I'm not sure. I'm going to have a look and have a look at where this villager is off to, if it's obvious. See, it's not obvious. Not obvious at all where that villager was going. I'm gonna go to selected player only just to make this a little bit more. So we've got pikemen, we've got veteran spearmen, and we've got janissaries. But look at that! Look at them smashing through my units there. They do really well. I have a kind of split indecision moment, which is terrible. That kind of didn't help at all. My plan was that I was going to use the mangonels on the archers, but I was presuming that the janissaries were going to do better. I was presuming that the janissaries were going to do much better than they did. These Cataphracts, you know, I don't know, are they the heaviest horse? Are they the heaviest cavalry? They're just really strong, and they're somehow... I haven't played the Byzantine. They just heal in the middle of the attack. You see that? They just heal. It kind of went from quite low and it just healed up. I didn't know that was even possible, to be honest. I actually, at this point, I said wow to the enemy. I was like, whoa, that was a lot. Wasn't expecting that, to be completely honest. That was quite impressive. It's not like it's a huge force. Ability that charges through enemies. Heavy armor. Trample deals area damage. See, I'm not... Perhaps I'm just not used to playing against the Byzantine cavalry. But that was a lot. I'm doing okay in terms of econ. 69, military 23, let's have a look at them. 66, military 32, so we're even I lost that, very much lost that. Still not over, and I would suggest that if they at this point pushed, which I think they should have done, to be honest, this force is a decent force. They should have pushed at this point, should have gone for it. But they do take a minute to kind of consolidate or whatever. I don't know what these are doing either. Spending a minute to figure out what to do with your villagers, which probably isn't helping. And here I am, frantically now, putting together the next the Seagate Castle. I'm expecting that attack now. I'm expecting them to push, and I'm expecting myself to really struggle. This little group is because I had the expectation that that group would do fairly well. Obviously it didn't. I had the expectation that it would, and then my plan was, even if that group did get destroyed, this group could come round and take out some villagers on the gold mine. That did very much not happen. And so I'm left having basically both forces rolled up and absolutely obliterated. All is not lost quite though. Very important when you kind of experience that to just create that next stage, especially in this case in terms of a defensive castle, and I've then put a keep there as well, because I'm presuming that they're coming at me now. That's what they really should do, I would suggest. Somehow this force is it's quite small, but it's seemingly pretty powerful. So I'm very much preparing for them to attack with some urgency, as you can see, putting on 25, even more, 29 villagers to create the Seagate Castle and the keep there. I think I take a minute as well to reallocate, which is a bit silly, but nevertheless. Also starting to get a little bit concerned with gold source. It's a bit blurry, I don't know why that is. It kind of takes a minute sometimes, the bigger gold sources, to come into focus. I don't really understand that, but anyway. Yeah, and I'd make the decision in this game to use... Never going to be able to pronounce this. I've heard it pronounced before. Ribalodquin? Sorry. But these cannon type multiple barreled cannons instead of the Great Bombard. The reason for that is that I've seen how good their cavalry is, and I think it's not going to. This game's not going to be so much a case of me kind of slowly driving into their base and destroying all the buildings. It's much more going to be really on the defensive, actually, and making sure that I'm kind of gunning down as many of the enemy cavalry as I can, and that's going to be the better option, I would suggest. I haven't quite upgraded yet, but that comes along soon. I haven't upgraded those yet either. I'm fairly quick on upgrading the econ stuff. I'm a bit slow on placing these villages for some reason. Okay, sorry, I'll speed it up a bit. So, yeah, where's he going? Oh right, I create a archery range, my plan being to do that thing that I tend to do, which is to kind of just irritate them. My plan ideally would be to put a couple of janissaries around their trade post, you know, one at a time basically, so that they come and destroy them, go back, and then they have to come back again, and it's annoying for them, and it's also taking out some traders. So I'm kind of coming back into it now. If you can see in terms of income per minute, they're winning, frankly. Let's have a look at numbers. 77 for me, 77 and 37 military, and then for them we've got 76 and 69 military. So in terms of military, villages were about the same, and in terms of military they are significantly more. Okay, so I've upgraded now to elite janissary. The next priority I would suggest be to upgrade the man-at-arms to elite. I'm also going through the blacksmiths, making sure that everything's as upgraded as it can be. But also in a minute, in not too long, I put a... I'm putting some archery ranges up. I also put a, there we go, university up. And the university is important. I think if I hadn't have put this university up, and if you kind of forget to put the university up, and research gunpowder if you're using janissaries, then that can seriously affect your capacity to win a game. Like it's that important. Need to do houses. I think I just whack up some houses down here. So this is just me probing, seeing what's going on. So that's actually, you know, I haven't really thought that through, have I? Because those Janissaries are never getting through that palisade wall. Doesn't really matter. One thing that's important is not if you know that these guys are going to get taken out, you have to kind of quickly stop their production, and that way you're kind of not losing resources if they take out their archery range. Because otherwise, I think those resources are just lost. I don't think that does anything. Because it's 26 minutes through, 26.51, I'm now a little bit nervous because this is actually a bit late for me. Ottomans, in my view, the siege stuff for the Ottomans is not great. That's what I said previously, and so if they are able to field bombards and whatever else, then I'm going to start to struggle. I don't like the great bombards that the Ottomans. It's big, it's slow, and it's not all that powerful in my view compared to some of the French Colvin type cannon. And here we go, I'm starting now to get the traders working, and this is where I'm saying they had the potential in this game to interrupt my trade route, and that probably would have ended the game in their favour. I think see that they're coming at the... Those Cataphracts are pretty cool. Maybe I need to play Byzantine. I cancel the elite Janissaries because they're pretty expensive, and you don't want to waste that gold and whatever else. I move up with my main military force to near this gold source to cover my villages on it. And I'm also upgrading, as you can see, chemistry, and the next one, elite army tactics. Those are the two really important ones, and then the secondary one is siege works. Good. So at this point it's pretty close, I would suggest. Look at that food, it's very close. I'm doing slightly better on wood, seemingly. They're doing significantly better on gold. I'm wondering if that's because they're trading a lot, or trading about the same. No, they're just making use of the gold. Putting up some cisterns. I've actually been to the cistern in Istanbul. It's really very, very touristy, but it's pretty cool. The Medusa head and on the oh, I don't see this force. So yeah, this is where again I was very much in this game feeling, which is why it was so such a big deal winning. I was very much feeling on the back foot. Yep. Oh, sorry. Again, you see how easily they kind of charge through. It's absurd. They just this for me was, in most games I play, this force would wipe out, or at least, you know, even if it didn't wipe out, it would you'd end up with a lot of their units dead. In this case, they lost hardly any. You know, and at the same time, they're destroying my gold source. I think I managed to retreat with enough villagers. I've retreated with the traders, and I'm moving forward with a few Janissaries to try and chase them off. But at this point, I'm feeling very much like, you know, I'm massively on the back foot. You know, I feel like it's very unlikely at this point that I'm going to win this game. I'd have to be pretty lucky. I missed this entirely because too much stuff's happening. So I'll go back to normal speed. It's just just a lot going on at the same time. It's looking to me like this mine's gonna have some real problems in a minute. What kind of the saving grace really is that they just run straight in. They just run straight in. They get overconfident, you know. This is overconfidence in my view. They're not using siege equipment against the Seagate Castle. The Seagate Castle is a pretty strong. It's a pretty strong castle. You would, I suggest, need. I think they even have some cannon at this point. Ah, they've got a force of springballs. See, it's interesting. This is a good player, isn't it? This is not a player that's messing around. Yeah, they just run into the Seagate Castle's cannon, and that's perhaps not the most sensible idea in the world. At the same time, you know, they're still smashing it basically. And it's only because they haven't brought serious siege equipment to bear that I'm still alive. Really only because I've now got two major cannons firing upon them at the same time. And so they're, you know, they should have gone for a softer target, that's what I was saying. If they'd have kept on pushing this way, which they were already doing, they'd have kept on pushing this way. You can see some remnants of troops there that I've just about managed to deal with. But if they'd have kept pushing that way, I'd be dead right now. I just about managed to hold off this attack, partly because they don't go for softer targets, or if they wanted to go straight in, why have they not brought siege equipment up? Could have brought a few cannons up. I think you get bombards with the Byzantine. I think you can just get bombards, so you just bombard it out. Would have been fairly easy, but really incredibly close game, to be honest. Still don't know. Yeah, they're bringing their archers. These archers are strong, and the Cataphracts are incredibly strong, but they're just bringing them within range of the cannon on this Seagate Castle and on this keep, and it's only because of that, I think, I'm able to block them. If they'd have gone round either way, look at all this. If they'd have gone round either way, I'd be finished. I'm starting to really struggle on gold, as you can see. Kind of trying to bring back soldiers. What are they doing with this? Just move off. Look, you've got bombards here, look. Look at that. Look at all these bombards. Maybe they were thinking that I was going to run at the bombards and take them out, but there's no way I was going to be able to do that. No, instead they've gone for a Sacred Victory push, which is maybe a good idea, I don't know. They're winning on pretty much every resource. I'm starting to do okay on gold simply because I've chucked everyone over here, and I've also got some traders going. But yeah, at this point, obviously I chuck a force down here. That's all I can do, right? And that's, you know, I can't afford to chuck too many. Obviously, repair the keep as best I can. Repair the castle, Seagate Castle, as best I can. and move on the closest sacred site. I could have tried to move on this one, but I would have got absolutely annihilated. I'm not, to be honest, probably not good enough to take on a force with a significant number of bombards. Not just that I'm not good enough, but it's also that because Ottomans can't have bombards, which is so annoying, or Calvins, and the springballs are just buffed to hell. Like, they're not nerfed. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Nerfed to hell. The springballs don't do anything. They're just, in my view, they're useless at this point. I think maybe they used to, but now the springballs are just useless. They're just pointless. So I don't bother using them, and I have to kind of work around it if I'm at this point 33 minutes in, and I'm normally facing a decent number of if the game lasts this long, I'm in trouble. Normally I can win at about 20-25 minutes in, or 18 to 25 minutes in, something like that. But as soon as they get this size of force with a decent number of bombards, the only thing I can really do is what I do in this game. And I'll show you in a minute. They basically wait a little bit long, to be honest. They wait a little bit long. If they'd have moved now, right now, so I'm just sending a siege engine against their tower just to see what happens, basically. I don't know, not necessarily the cleverest idea. I then rethink that decision, I seem to remember, and I decide, instead to do counterweight trebuchets and to put some counterweight trebuchets here, and the idea being that I'm going to move up closer and put a nice big force here, and then counterweight trebuchet the tower from protection. But at the same time, what I want to do is go round, and this is the plan. This is the plan. I'm kind of testing the waters at this point to go round and hit their weak spots and hit their soft targets. That's the only real thing I can think to do at this point. I know realistically if I stay in this kind of defensive mode, I've lost, and that's important, right? If in this game, if you're too defensive, you lose. Just kind of almost inevitably, almost automatically. I've managed to kind of stop them winning from the sacred victory, and so, as I say, in this case, I'm going to try and basically sneak round. I'm going to try and basically sneak round. If they'd have moved now. I think actually what was quite a good idea is just throwing a few units down this way, because it does distract them, look. It does distract them. I don't know whether they think, oh, I'm going to kind of come down here in force, but it does distract them quite nicely, actually almost perfectly, to be honest. They send far too many units out this way to see if there's a significant force going this way, whereas my main force is over here, and I hope, if I'm right in saying, go to reveal select player, yeah, they can't see that. They can't see that at all, and so they only see it fairly late. Let's have a look at numbers. Economy 113, this is them. Military 78, have a look at me. Economy 92, military 105. Interesting, I'm normally the one that has far more villagers than I do military units, but not in this case. Let's have a look at what they can see now. So it'd be just interesting to see when they can see the force coming, and how they respond to it. They've obviously had the idea that I might be coming around this side, and they're keeping their units there, and they're building up that side on the... Yeah, they see it now, they're very quick. Look how quickly that is. I don't know, maybe they're already looking at this point because they're building this wall. But they're very quick to spot that. They're not so quick to move though, I've noticed. Don't know why. They're not so quick to move. It was a good... Oh, there we are. Starting to move right now. This is a fairly small force, frankly. And it hasn't got any siege equipment whatsoever. Those bombards are going to absolutely destroy it. And they... This is amazing. They move these units back. This is a good game. They move those units back just as I, in a minute, decide to go that way with another force. Because, as I say, you might as well be attacking. You're always going to have to attack. And not, you know, presume that constantly defending is going to win the game, because it's not. What's going on here? Creating a lumber camp there. Just moving out of the way of my forces, I suppose. My assumption is they've got decent trading routes. I've, at this point, got a lot of people on trading. Got a couple of pikemen there, spearmen there. To protect them, wouldn't do much if they came on force. But because I've had to get a decent number of traders, my assumption is that they're doing the same thing. So this is a nice little fight, right? They've gone right, and they don't charge. You know what I think the difference is? I think the difference is they didn't charge that time, because previously they'd charged and they've just absolutely slaughtered everyone. And I think maybe they just kind of didn't click it right, or whatever else. But it meant that these Cataphracts didn't charge. I think, to be honest, that might have given me the game. The fact that they didn't click quite right in that 1 second, that might have given me the game. Yeah, because it means that they kind of just walk up to me rather than kind of clattering through and doing a huge amount of area damage, which seems to be absolutely insane, to be honest. And you should be able to defend against that kind of charge. Maybe you can, maybe I'm just... Because in reality, obviously, you would form square, right? What do actual troops do? They form square, and those squares are very hard for cavalry to penetrate. It would be very cool if this game had that. It would be incredibly cool if this game had that. What I'm doing now is just ignoring this force that's just about to destroy me and go here. The reason being that I'm going to take out as many villages as I can. I'm kind of aware that this force is probably going to get destroyed, because I can see, I'll just go back to the selector, I can see even now that they've got a decent force coming, and they've got, look at that, bombards starting to come online. So I feel I might as well go close enough to do some damage to the villagers and traders at the same time. As you can see down here, I'm doing exactly... So I'm hoping that that's going to have them distracted, or as many military units as I can. I want distracted down here, whilst another force comes down. It's not as strong, but it'll still do some damage if they're not able to respond to it. This is a good game, this one. I'll just speed it up a bit. I forget about these people. I do put them into the action in a bit, I think. But as you can see, it's doing kind of what I want, in that I am taking some villagers out maybe, I'm taking a few traders out at the same time, and this time they haven't been quite as strong, and the Cataphracts haven't charged through like they did last time. I'm now at the wall with this group. And obviously I don't actually know what happens now, because I didn't watch what was going on up here when this was happening. So they're getting slowly destroyed, but not before. I then realise it's pointless, I'm going to run. It actually works quite well. Just run. and they come through. Right? If that wall, again, so many different parts, they could have stopped this happening. If that wall was longer or connected up, for some reason they didn't bother connecting up the wall. And this group is able to get through. It's a reasonable force. So what they've now got the problem of pretty ridiculously small forces